We want wealth, right? We deeply desire financial freedom. But then, we completely avoid the actual practical steps needed to get there. Why do we do this? Why on earth do we self-sabotage when it comes to our bank accounts? Well, let's explore what the research actually tells us. I mean, if we're being completely honest with ourselves right now, why does thinking about money just make us freeze? Think about it. That paralyzing shame, the sudden anxiety, that desperate urge to look literally anywhere else when it's time to actually sit down and check your personal finances. Yeah, we've all secretly felt that avoidance.
We often think our financial problems are totally external, right? Like, it's the economy, it's my boss, it's a lack of time. But standard financial advice is basically just looking at the tip of an iceberg. It only treats the visible symptoms while completely ignoring this massive root cause lurking underwater. For instance, when researchers asked people to name their 5 biggest problems and their 5 biggest goals, a staggering 98% of the answers revolved around one single thing: money! It's our absolute top priority. And yet, our internal programming stubbornly prevents us from actually fixing it. We don't lack the information. Actually, scratch that. It turns out we just lack the internal alignment to act on it.
To really understand this deeply ingrained internal programming, we have to map it out. Our source material introduces a really cool personal assessment tool to diagnose those hidden emotional blocks holding you back. And it turns out there are 5 distinct categories that completely dictate our everyday financial reality. We have savings, the money you absolutely do not touch. We have debts. We have your income, the money that's constantly in flow. We have your financial goals. And finally, a very insidious category called toxic money. We're going to get to that one in just a moment. But these 5 pillars, this is exactly where our deepest emotional blocks hide out.
And this brilliantly illustrates the massive disconnect that happens here. Your logical brain is sitting there saying, look, I just need to save 10% of my income. It's simple math, guys. But your emotional reality, it triggers a borderline panic attack just looking at your bank account. When you even think about your savings or, lack thereof, it isn't math that takes over. It's pure, visceral emotion. It's because our finances act as a mirror. A simple negative balance can instantly make us feel like a total failure, triggering deep shame, despair, and fear. We immediately start thinking, man, I am so careless, or I'm completely irresponsible. And these aren't just passing thoughts, okay? They are intense emotional reactions that literally, physically stop us in our tracks. We actually need to shift our focus from psychology to biology for a second here, because these negative feelings, they aren't just in your head. What's absolutely fascinating is the actual biology behind this. When you confront a financial trigger, like say an unopened bank statement or a past due bill, your nervous system literally panics. It releases these powerful stress hormones that completely shut down your logical problem-solving brain. It's honestly like pouring sugar straight into a gas tank. Your engine just stops dead. You become physically incapable of making a sound financial decision in that hijacked state. As the research points out, when we experience stress, our brain shuts down and stops thinking. I really want you to absorb that for a second. If you've been putting off dealing with your debts, it's not because you're lazy. It's not because you aren't smart enough. No way. It is a literal biological shutdown initiated by financial stress. Your nervous system is just trying to protect you from the pain of that shame and fear by just shutting the entire system down. And this biological shutdown completely explains the intense physical drain we feel. Have you ever set a big financial goal, like, I'm going to double my income this year, and instead of feeling super motivated and fired up, you instantly just feel exhausted? You feel powerlessness, fatigue, this heavy sense of having absolutely no strength? Well, that's because your body associates that goal with immense stress and overwork, so it drains your physical energy before you even take a single step forward.
Introduces the 5th and perhaps most highly destructive category on the money map.
So, what is toxic money? How do we define it? It is income that violates your moral compass, compromises your integrity, or simply drains your very soul. It's financial gain that fundamentally conflicts with your inner values and your emotional wholeness. Basically, receiving it just makes you feel terrible about yourself. Let's look at a few concrete examples from the source material so you can identify if this is hiding in your own life. It could be obvious things, right? Like taking bribes or unethical payouts. But it can also be deeply personal, like staying in a completely toxic relationship where you don't love or respect the person solely because they provide financial support. Or it could simply be working a job that feels like soul-crushing exploitation, where you feel completely used and drained of your life force for every single dollar you earn. And here is the hard truth, the ultimate blockade. You cannot grow your wealth while drinking emotional poison. Our sources are incredibly clear on this. As long as toxic money exists in your life, any logical attempts to fix your savings, your debts, or your overall income, they will completely fail. Because the money itself is acting as an emotional poison, keeping your nervous system locked in a constant state of distress and self-sabotage.
So how do we actually fix this? Well, before practical financial strategies like budgeting, investing, or starting a side hustle can actually work, we have to neutralize these internal emotional blocks. We do this by following an active reprogramming process. Step 1. Acknowledge the physical tension in your body when you think about money. Step 2. Accept the programmed self-sabotaging thought without judgment, just recognizing it was put there a long time ago. And Step 3. Choose a new emotional response to release the stress. Physical grounding techniques like emotional tapping, where you literally tap on pressure points while acknowledging the fear, can actually help release that nervous system response and clear the block for good.
Because this is the true transformation we're aiming for. We want to move from a state of -10, where you're paralyzed by fear, fatigue, and shame, to a state of +10, where you are filled with energy and genuinely ready to take action. Moving from a negative emotion to a state of positive, calm energy isn't just a nice little psychological trick. It is a strict biological prerequisite for taking real financial action.
So I'll leave you with this provocative question to really think about. Are you ready to stop fighting your biology and start rewriting your financial emotional map? Once you clear that hidden emotional poison and finally calm your nervous system, the practical steps to wealth become not just possible, but completely natural.